Oh well. I thought I was live. Am I live? There we go. Okay. Uh man, I hate this delay. Bothers me all the time every time I do it. There's like a I don't know. Big delay. Anyway, it is unbagging time. Also, I am using my camera to stream now, and hopefully, I have the sync sorted out between the camera and the mic. Because when you use a capture device like what I'm doing, it causes the mic to go out of sync with the video. But I think I've solved that problem. So if anyone shows up to chat, let me know, because I really don't want to. I really don't want to have a problem where I'm offset the whole time. Now what? Well, that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, this is a game that I kind of decided to get on a whim. I saw it on eBay, and I think I got a pretty good deal on it. And it's a rare-ish game for Nintendo 64. If I can just get the darn thing open here. It's another bag. All right. Well, thanks to the seller for bagging that up for me. I got through that a lot quicker than I would have with the scissors, I think. 1316 killer reference there. Which, it's been years, but I wonder what that guy's doing. He hasn't been on YouTube. I think he stopped doing it because he got flagged too much by the not his detractors, but the people who were like a little bit fanatical about his detractors. Ooh, okay, that's in a little bit better shape than I thought it was going to be. Harvest Moon 64. That's right. Now this is a game I emulated several years ago, and actually got me into the Harvest Moon games. And now I have the original cart of this, and so I'll be getting this cleaned up. Now, getting this game with the box was like, I don't know, it was really expensive. So that wasn't going to happen. At best, maybe one day I'll find a box separate for it, but I haven't had any luck in that regard yet. So that's good. Test that out later. Let's see. Bet you're probably wondering why I've got a whiteboard here. And I've had this idea about sort of going over how I would review a game. And I'm going to use games that I have played and enjoyed sort of in my lifetime. Not sort of, but actually in my lifetime. And I'm going to stumble over words and do stupid things live on the stream. Disaster stream! But seltzer water always helps. I don't know why. It's telling me right now that YouTube is not receiving enough video. That is horsey poop, to use the light version. because I am. Let's see what's going on here in OBS. It's telling me that OBS has not dropped any frames. Now, just because OBS hasn't dropped any frames doesn't mean I haven't dropped any over the stream. But I shouldn't have, because my bit rate is 5,000, which is plenty. I'm not losing anything in the upload, so I have no idea what in the heck is going on. I'm going to refresh this page, see what happens here. It's going to take a million years. I mean, gosh, this is what when you try to stream on a pardon me, when you try to stream on a mid-range laptop, things get a little dicey. But it should be okay because I've been testing this. Stupid, just stupid. Let's see what it says. Yeah. Uh-huh. See, it's telling me that the bit. So are you telling me my internet signal's not very good? Really? That can't be. I'm wired freaking connection here. I've tested it. I've got like 100 up and 100 down. Maybe YouTube just doesn't like me. That could be a distinct possibility. And I do not want to use this stream as a test for maybe let's turn Wi-Fi off. Maybe it's trying to go over the Wi-Fi. See if that does anything. Come on. Okay, so this stream is basically just going to be me raging at YouTube and blaming YouTube for what's probably a deficiency in my hardware. Well, I guess the show must go on. You know, what a bunch of crap. What a bunch of crap. You know, how am I going to stream? How am I going to stream Donkey Kong 64 with this, with the problems like this? As I rub my face. Yeah, I can see in the preview it's just skipping. It's like chop suey right now. Chop freaking suey. I'm trying not to swear. I don't swear in my videos or on my streams like everyone else does. And that's not because I'm self-righteous. It's just how I do things. You know, if everyone else wants to swear, they can. No problem with that. It's an open platform. All right. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop the stream. No, there we go. Okay, now it's telling me it's excellent. It's just all over the place. Yeah, I'm afraid I may have to end up streaming with my let me do this. I'm going to bring down the resolution on the preview, I guess. Anyway, okay. Well, let's get on with this. So, I had this idea months ago, but I wasn't doing anything on YouTube. And I forget what game it was that came out that was so polarizing about it. I can't remember. I can't remember what it was. Let me think back for a minute. I don't know. Maybe it was more than months ago. It's so long ago, I can't remember. But, how can we review a game and actually be fair about it? Because reviews are subjective, right? Well, I think there are some aspects of a game review that are not subjective and can be objectively quantified. For instance, graphics and frame rate are pretty much, you know, solid, so you can say, hang on a second, I'm having difficulty explaining this. So graphics can be an objective measure. Everyone says, "Oh, well, I like these graphics, but I think they're fine." Well, if we step back for a minute and say, are these graphics actually good? Does the game look good? The answer is either yes or no. And the same thing really applies to the frame rate. So let's take one of my most recent favorite games, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So let's just put that up here. I'm going to try to put it in big letters. Breath of the Wild. Okay. Can we see that? I think so. If we can, I'll have to use a different color maybe. But anyway, let's say, we have a category, graphics or slash frames per second, which kind of go hand in hand. The way the game looks is dependent upon the graphics, really, and also the frame rate. So let's put a little grid right here. And then the other thing that we can really quantify is the gameplay itself. Gameplays would basically be everything that is not the graphics, the user interface, the combat style, the AI, that sort of thing. Okay, we'll put another column here. Now, I'm going to change colors here. The third aspect, which I think needs to be included, because this is where the subjective comes into play. And I don't think we should ignore the subjective. The subjective would be what a lot of review sites and magazines, we're going back far now into magazines, excuse me, would have called the fun factor. Now, we're going to try to be objective with these first two categories with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. We know it's a Nintendo game. Nintendo likes to put out quality. The graphics on Breath of the Wild, I think, for the Nintendo Switch, I'm not comparing it to other games right now. This is just saying, what is it? What would it be on Nintendo Switch? I think the graphics are very good, especially the draw distance. However, we also have frame rate to deal with. The frame rate is not so good. In certain parts of the game, it's actually kind of bad, especially in the Korok Forest and other places where it can get down to about 20 frames per second, which these days is, I would say, is unacceptable. So, because the frame rate has taken such a huge hit, I'm going to give it actually out of 10. Each one of these I'm going to do 1 out of 10. So, I would probably give it a 7, honestly. Okay, now we're going to go on to. Can you even see that? Yeah. Oh, did I fart? Oh, yes, I did. Okay, let me move this. Maybe I can move this down a little bit. Just checking in the preview to see if. Yeah, I need to move the camera up a little bit. Give me a second here. There we go. Okay. All right. Yes, I'm in my pajama pants. What about it? Want to fight about it? All right. So let me see if it looks better in the. There we go. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So the gameplay for Breath of the Wild. There's so many aspects of gameplay. The So what you have to ask yourself, is there anything about the gameplay that we don't like? I would say yes. We don't like it when it rains and we can't climb anything. Also, weapon breakage. Weapon breakage could be annoying, but the thing is, as you're playing the game, it's not a problem. You almost never run out of weapons because they're all over the place. Once you break one, there's usually something to replace it, and it works fine enough. So I'm going to give it a 9 on gameplay because it's not entirely perfect. Fun factor, well, this is the subjective part, and I have to say, one of the most fun games I've ever played. That's an easy 10 for me. Oh, wrong color. Erase that there. 10. So we end up with I don't know where to put. I don't exactly know where to put the final score. But I know it's 26 out of 30. So if we try to change that to what it would be out of 10, let me just do this real quickly on my calculator. And of course, since I'm live, I'm going to, brain fart and forget how to do it. So 2. let's see, 26. Oh, I know how to do it. So out of 10, it ends up being about 8.6. Now, is that fair? Well, it depends on how you normally review video games. Is a video game, under these conditions, is a video game ever going to get a perfect score? Probably not. So that's why that's why a lot of review sites and review magazines, in order to get more hype going about games and more sensationalism, I guess is the word I'm going for, oftentimes they're going to ignore this and just sort of lump it all into this, and then you end up with this, because that is what Breath of the Wild got for the most part. All right. Let's take. Oh, I know. Let's take another game called. Oh, wait a minute. Let me do something here real quick. Why don't we share this on Twitter? Maybe that'll help. All right. A little bit more recent game. No, yes, a bit more of a recent game. Let me make sure my microphone is on here. Yeah, it's on. More recent game. How about Red Dead Redemption 2? There we go. Oh, shoot. This thing needs to be turned around so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. Red Dead Redemption 2. Let's try that. Red Dead 2. Graphics and frame rate. Well, graphics of Red Dead 2 are absolutely stunning on the PS4, and probably more so on the PC, since it runs in 4K on PC. Frame rate. Again, if you're on PC, your mileage may vary. But on the consoles, it was a pretty steady 30, I believe. So I'd have to give it. I hesitate to give it a 10, but let's go ahead and give it a 10. All right, gameplay. This is one of the things about Red Dead that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. The missions in Red Dead. Now, I think everyone has agreed the missions in Red Dead are absolute trash, because every time I did a mission, I was really just hoping for it to get over with, because they were usually not very fun. There wasn't much fun to it. The open worldness of the game was it was okay. Everyone hated the fishing. I didn't really care for the fishing, the amount of time that it takes. I guess I would give the gameplay more like a 7. And then as a result, fun factor, was it fun? Was it a fun game to play? It was for a while. But then after so many hours, you kind of realize, oh, it's getting dull. You just want to get the story over with. And that makes it even harder to come back to. So I'm going to have to give that my subjective fun factor. I'm going to give that a 7. Now, what did this game get in terms of reviews for the most part? 10. Now, if I add all of this up, it's 22, 14, 24 divided by 30. Oops. Which is actually an 8. So Red Dead 2 would have gotten an 8 out of me. I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to be done with this. But I suppose I could go further later on. I'm going to do one of the most popular games of last gen and even this gen, Skyrim. Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Graphics, frames per second. Well, I think we can all agree the graphics on most Bethesda games are pretty underwhelming. Frame rate was okay, but the graphics are just kind of so I'm gonna give that a 6. I can't put that as high as Breath of the Wild, even if it has a smooth frame rate. Gameplay. Well, in a vacuum, we look at the gameplay as fairly simple. Inventory management is pretty good. There's missions, but the missions aren't, too overly narrative. They're pretty open-ended. So for gameplay, I'd actually give that. I'm gonna give that an 8. And then the fun factor. Well, that's an easy one for me. It was 10 because Skyrim's the game that actually got me back into gaming about 8 years ago. All right, so then how do we deal with this? Well, 14 and 10. So it gets the same rating as Red Dead 2. So if we look at this, now granted, I haven't really thought any of this through before I did it, in case you haven't noticed. But it looks like, for the most part, when you look at games and oh, wait a minute, there's something I forgot. I knew I was forgetting something. Okay, so I want to take a look at what if, let's say, what if somebody was reviewing Breath of the Wild and absolutely did not like Zelda games, or really even Nintendo for that matter. They might have this fun factor a lot lower than this. And in fact, I think people who don't tend to like open-ended, open-world games would have this number a lot lower. Those are people who shouldn't even be reviewing those games. You don't ask people, you don't ask a non-Zelda fan what they think of a Zelda game, because they're going to say it's trash. By the same token, you don't ask someone who hates open world games whether, what they think of Skyrim, because they're just going to say it's trash. If you like open world games, you need to ask somebody who likes open world games. And hopefully these review sites, when they're reviewing games, they employ the people who are most suited to review certain types of games. For instance, I know, I hate to bring up IGN, but they used to have, what was his name? Jose Otero, review a lot of Nintendo games because he was the Nintendo guy. You know, and you didn't want a non-Nintendo guy reviewing a bunch of Nintendo games because you might get a fairly inaccurate read on this, and in some cases even this, if they're not trying to be completely objective. So anyway, yeah, that was my first attempt at using the dry erase board on a stream or at all. But I would like to continue using it in the future to try to illustrate things, and that's not erasing very easy. I think I'm going to have to use some Windex on that. So yeah. Well, that's the stream, guys, and hopefully we'll do better next time.